Hey everyone, it's Alicia Atout, and welcome back to Knotfest Heavy Conversations. Today I'm joined by two of my absolute favorites, Ryan J. Downey and Daniel Dekay. How are you two doing? Other than exhausted, because we're about to get into that.
This is such a hang. This is truly two of my favorite people. I love that we're getting to do this wicked triangle right now.
This is
It,
lovely.
it is a wicked triangle. It's like inverted the way I can see it too. I don't know how it looks for you.
mine's the same.
Yeah, good inverted triangle.
I love
Yeah, all
it.
the best things are inverted.
It is lovely to see both of your beautiful faces, and I feel like it's been a really long time. But I think
Yeah.
that's just because we've all been so busy. Probably hasn't actually even been that long.
I feel like we've all been crazy busy, and it's just the perfect segue into what we're going to talk about first, because the massive festival that is Aftershock has officially taken place. And of course, some of our official team from Knotfest were there in attendance. So today's festival talk is going to be all about Aftershock. So let's talk about the festival, the highlights, cool moments, great performances. Dee, you looked absolutely knackered after your time there. So we are going to start with you.
Aftershock. It's not just a festival. It's like the city of Aftershock. It's friggin' huge. I think that was the first thing for me is that really blew me away is walking onto those grounds and being like, okay, like, wait, the other stage is where? Like, there's worlds, like it's just like all spanning. So massive amount of space to cover, and it has everything. It's like it's even got its own mall, like the food court, dispensary, art gallery. Like, there's so much other
Wow.
shit aside from four massive stages. So it truly did feel like being in your own Aftershock world for 4 days. It was all encompassing, really long days. We were there for like 12 hours every day, just really soaking it all in. It's really cool too, every single day, because of how varied the lineup is and how much ground it covers musically. Every single day really was a different crowd. Just as many wild, enthusiastic people, but with an identity very unique to that group. Like really passionate. I'm talking like face painting and crazy cosplays and like vintage merch and band merchandise and like kind of like one upping each other on like diehard fan stuff and just tattoos, all of it. Like it's just like the ultimate kind of fans that sacrifice their lives to worship the bands and wear it on their shoulders. Like really enthusiastic crowds. Um, Standout sets. Code Orange the first night was like a perfect way to start it off for me. Like that chaos and energy that only that band brings. Is pretty cool to see like Jamie go from all relaxed and hanging out amongst the friends and family area of the festival and just like chilling, and then going on and like absolutely being ready for war. That band brings energy. Like every single member is moving so much and bringing so much chaotic energy to the stage. That band fucking moves. Reba's the ultimate badass. That was like that was my day one standout. Like to get things going for me, that was fucking dope. Um, Mega highlights for me though, I gotta say, like Kiss, Danzig, Lamb of God, like back to back to back as like
That's insane
one
that you
day's
could have
entertainment.
seen them. Yeah,
Yeah,
holy
yeah,
shit.
that, and not like spread out or anything. Like it was
All
it
in
was
one.
emotionally overwhelming. Like back to back to back, three in a row. Like three sets where I sang every single word in a row. It was a lot.
And Code Orange is cool, but I
I'm
love that you
so
just walked
jealous.
right into our wheelhouse with Kiss and Danzig.
Oh, all of us are
We're
like
both
love them
like, go
so
on.
much.
Yeah.
Dude, the Danzig set was incredible. Set list was fucking packed. One two punch of like twist of cane. I don't know, like it's
I
a
saw
simple set
somebody
to like
posted a picture of the set list taped up on an amp somewhere, and I was
it,
like
I love how
salivating.
your brain is still in aftershock from the festival. Like you're still trying to
The
gather
aftershock
your
of
brain.
aftershock.
Yes.
yeah, like the set list was awesome. Like the twist into the Not of This World, like stuff from the album, like that. And three songs from three in a row, and like just like really strong musical stuff, and then like a plain set with just the giant logo the whole time, like nothing else, like so clean, like just like greatest hit set. Let the music do the talking. Fucking
Yeah.
Danzig. Yeah, Steve Zing's the man. It's my new soul, like my literally my new soulmate. Yeah, yeah, that's
Danzig
the
is the
guy.
man. OG member of Sam Hain. He's been playing bass for Danzig forever now too, and
Yeah.
Of course, Johnny Kelly from the great Typo Negative has been drumming for Danzig for a long time. Was he drumming this weekend
He
also?
was, and Tommy Victor was there too. It was like it's the gang. That's the band.
Yeah,
It's fucking
yeah. He's I love that classic lineup: Eerie Vaughn, Chuck Biscuits, John Christ. That's my favorite lineup. I think it's everybody's favorite lineup. But having said that, he's got this little super group of super dudes that he's had for a while now, and
yeah.
they do the thing for sure.
And it was insane. It was a really well curated set for fans. Same with the Kiss set. Greatest hits. They blew a billion things up. It was, everything
That's
I
so
needed it to
rad.
be for my final Kiss show. Because every time I go, they keep telling me it's the last time every time I go, but and they got me hook, line,
They're
sinker. I'll
never
keep going.
stopping. Mm-hmm.
I'll keep going. They got me for life, man.
You'll
I
be
love
you'll be
it.
in Kiss before you know it, because they've talked about just recasting the other two guys. So maybe you'll be the new Paul.
Oh my
Dude,
gosh.
yeah, I'm going Ace though. Stop it. I ain't got Paul.
I'll
I'm
take
Ace.
Paul.
That's the one I go.
Yeah,
Back. Yeah, Alicia's
yeah,
our Paul.
of course, but we gotta
Please.
wait for Tommy Thayer to
Oh fuck yeah,
retire first.
yeah, yeah. Tommy Thayer's a little too young to be starting to replace yet. You're right.
Very true.
Okay, what? There was some other really awesome stuff. Want to get your take on? It was my first time seeing Amigo the Devil live, and I know that Amigo the Devil fucking rules, and everyone's saying how it's the best show. I didn't expect it to be that good. That was like a really intense one for me. It was a standout
Okay.
set like over the whole weekend for me. Have either of you guys seen that band before?
I
You know,
haven't seen them live, but I keep hearing, especially during these conversations, that
Yeah.
it's someone you have to see. So the fact that it backed it up and actually blew away your
I'll
expectations, that's amazing.
I'll never miss one. I'll never miss one ever again. Like if it's on
Wow.
a festival or if they're coming to town, like that's a show that I would go out of my way to see again. It's like that whole like dark folk thing. Like I really like it on album, but live with that style of energy it brings and just the musical proficiency that the band has. Like it's just really fucking enjoyable. It's
That's
really, really
awesome.
good. Yeah, really
and as
fun one.
Amigo the Devil, it's one of those kind of dashboard things, right? Where it's one person, but he also brings out like a band, but
That
sometimes
was
it's just
my
Yeah,
impression of it.
yeah. So Danny's like the guy. It's I think that at one point he was going by Amigo, perhaps, but that's Danny's the dude, and he's got an incredible band with him. I've like full band with him. It's awesome. Keys, drums. He plays banjo and guitar and stuff.
Yeah.
He's got people backing him, and it's just amazing. It really is like musically just super fun, and they're all smiling, and the energy's there, and he's over the top. That was a really good standout set for me that I didn't know I was going to love it that much.
Yeah,
Big
I
Oh
time
remember
fan
yeah.
now.
first hearing about him from Ross Robinson actually years ago. He was working with him and he was just over the moon about how talented he was, how different it was, how vibey it was. And then just seeing in subsequent years the different kinds of tours and festivals that Amigo the Devil shows up on. I think it's really anytime an artist can, bridge those gaps and appeal to such like diverse different crowds. I
Mm.
always think that's impressive.
Yeah, I mean, the bill was like there were tons of bands like that. As I say, every day was a different day. Like really a wildly diverse crowd. Like I also other sets I wanted to point out definitely noteworthy the Zeal and Ardor set, and that's one of the most musically diverse bands
Yeah.
on any bill anytime. For some classic shit, Helmet sounded ridiculously good. Like ridiculously good. Really, really good mix. Really entertaining. Tons of dancing. Everyone was dancing their whole set.
That's
Um,
awesome.
yeah, it was a really really good festival, and there were fanboy moments for me. I discovered new shit, which at the end of the day is always really exciting in its own way. And yeah, I mean the big thing for me though was that yes, I was seeing Slipknot, and I was hyped that I got to see Slipknot there. But the Slipknot show that I wanted to see, someone else was at. Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
So we got basically the same set. You got like the full set. I got the festival slightly abridged set, but yeah, that show looked fucking awesome, dude.
Yeah, we had to divide it up, given our little Knotfest team here and all the various things that were happening with not just Slipknot, but a lot of the bands that we always cover. And yeah, kept getting texts from people asking me, like, are you at Aftershock? Are you coming to Aftershock? And I was like, no, I'm doing these 4 other things. Because there was like all this stuff happening down here simultaneously. One of which was Lamb of God's documentary film premiere. So they have this documentary coming out all about the making of the new record Omens. And it's like a legit high quality, like pro doc, like more than just, your standard special features making of kind of thing. And they had like a legit premiere for it last week in a place called Brain Dead Studios, which I know as one of the old silent theaters in LA. It's like a landmark, it has like the cool old like marquee, which I'm a big fan of. Old marquee. I follow a bunch of accounts on Instagram that are just like
just marquee. That's awesome.
Yeah, so
that's so you.
It is. And just seeing Lamb of God on one of those was pretty awesome because it was like up there. But yeah, and it's funny because they used to do it used to be a little art house theater, and whoever's taken it over, this Brain Dead Studios place, has really sort of made it very sort of not festy, I guess you could say. Like it's very sort of metal horror culture with cinema mixed in. But yeah, so there were a bunch of fans there. The band did a signing. I hosted a little Q&A with all 5 of the guys and the guy who directed the documentary, and it was great. And it's just, they're one of those bands that comes from that Metallica school of being very revealing and putting it all out there and not being afraid of the camera and not being afraid to like peel back the curtain and show fans what they really like behind the scenes. And there's a bit in the documentary where Randy goes and visits like an exotic animal rescue here in California where, they take care of these discarded pets that shouldn't have been pets in the first place. Like, a lot of primates and stuff like that. And Randy made it a big part of the movie, making sure that was in there. And he talked a good deal about it during the Q&A also. And, how people can go and support and help keep the doors open on that place. So, he's always very socially conscious and has something important to remind us about in the midst of all the music and mayhem. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. And then as Mr. Dekay alluded to, a couple of days later, there was Knotfest Roadshow here. I believe is the conclusion of this leg of the tour in beautiful Irvine, California. The old Verizon, formerly the old Verizon Amphitheater, which I believe was the site. It's had a bunch of different names, but I think the Danzig Thrall Demon Sweat live EP was recorded at the same venue.
Cool.
So a little tie to the Danzig set the other day.
I was going to say, life always just ties back to Danzig.
Exactly.
You know that.
It all comes back to Danzig.
Constant callbacks.
And so so obviously the show was killer. It was Slipknot, Ice Nine Kills, Crown the Empire. We had a little Knotfest stage set up for all of the Knotfest VIP members. They were able to come and hang out and get stuff signed. And Patrick, the drummer from Ice Nine Kills, came out and did a little Q&A with me, a couple of guys from Crown, and the now legendary V-Man. And I got to sit down together. It's the first time I ever talked to him. He's obviously super cool.
Why now legendary?
Well, he's, big shoes to fill. It took a minute.
People love him now.
Earn the icon of legendary status.
Yeah.
I think he's gotten there. People love him. All the bands love him because apparently he's the grill master. Every band person I talk to.
Oh, is that so?
Grilling. He's like the Warped Tour guy that gets out all the, make sure that everyone hangs out.
Because he was a roadie.
Exactly. And you know what? That's exactly what he said.
From the school of roadie.
Dude, that is almost verbatim what he said. He's like, it's because I used to be on the crew. I know how it works. And he gets the vegan options going. Apparently Clown's vegan now.
Hell yeah.
And so yeah, he gets the vegan burgers going for all my vegetarian and vegan homies. But yeah, he was great to talk to. And it was also fun because they had just found out that morning that the new Slipknot record debuted at #1 in the UK, which of course is where he hails from. And as the Anglophile that I am, we talked about the young ones, like I always like to talk about, and everything British. And yeah, it was really cool to be able to hang with him, the day that he's on a #1 Slipknot record in his home country. So
wow,
yeah, good time.
Try any of his food.
Kick-ass week.
It was a pretty kick-ass week. It was fun. Although I definitely had the Aftershock FOMO seeing everybody's posts.
Me too. Both of you got to see so many amazing bands within the span of like 2 days. I'm absolutely envious of each of you. But you had a good question there, Dee. about the food. I'm curious too.
Yeah, did you try any of V-Man's grilling?
I haven't had any. He wasn't grilling that day, but it was.
Okay.
But every band dude that I mentioned that I was talking to, V, like Spencer from Ice Nine, was like, he's the grill master, and that just like kept coming up. And so I asked him about it, and he was like, yeah. And it was exactly like you said. It's because he comes from that crew background that he's got that, like, that like welcoming sort of hosty, let's get everybody in the same place and have some food and not have it be like we're the headliner and you're the main support and you're the opening. And so and both bands, Ink and Crown said that they had gotten to like meet the Slipknot guys, and it's just such a warm sort of cool environment that they make, which not every band does.
Now you hear so many different horror stories about openers and just how they get treated and ignored and just like shit, and I'm sure you've been through it. So it's one of those things where you just kind of hear it from someone that massive within our business, being Slipknot, like to hear that there's still that camaraderie and care. That's amazing.
Yeah, and it's interesting that it should be a lesson to all the mid-tier bands who want to strut their stuff and push the openers around. It's the biggest bands in our genre who are notably the most welcoming. Slipknot, Maiden, Metallica, those are all the bands that you hear all these great things about how warm they are and how well they treat the opening bands. It's usually those like mid-level bands who aspire to get to that level who are I think it's insecurity, really.
Yeah.
So.
Big time. I was gonna say, like, I love rock stars. Like, I'm a big fan of rock stars. I think rock stars are the coolest. But roadies, those are your real friends. And you totally, yeah, all my closest buddies, they're all like, it's like, oh, what band is he playing? I'm like, oh, works for bands. Yes, yeah, he's a roadie. They're always the coolest. And there's like that big family mentality and like, grilling in the open air and inviting people in. Like, I love that, they've got a guy like that in Slipknot, and that Slipknot is notoriously known as that family band. And I love that. It's super cool. It's super cool to hear it from such kick-ass up-and-comers, though. I love that.
Me too.
Yeah, I just spent all of September on the road with the guys in Demon Hunter, and it's funny you mentioned that, because much like V-Man on a smaller scale, obviously, Jeremiah Scott, who's been their guitar player for a decade now, started out as their front of house. He toured with them for years as the front of house, and he was always a guitar player, and he ended up playing guitar in the band, and he's also a producer. He's been producing a bunch of their stuff. But yeah, and we were out, that tour included a stop at Blue Ridge, so I got to see the mudslides at Blue Ridge, and it ended at Furnace Fest, so I had that sort of both sides of the spectrum of the festival experience last month, where it's like Blue Ridge, where it's like every band you can name, and then Furnace Fest, where it's like, late 90s, early 2000s metalcore nostalgia fest, with a few, you're In Flames and Mastodons and a couple of bands that weren't necessarily part of that peppered in. But yeah, it was fun. And being at Blue Ridge, which is like run like an Aftershock or like one of the Danny Wimmer events, and then being at Furnace Fest, which is run by like old hardcore dudes. And strengths and weaknesses to both, but both were fun.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I think what I'm taking away from both of your weekends is just that you had the most fun at each of these events, and once again, putting it on record. So jealous. Like, good for you guys, though. It sounds like a blast.
Do you have any big music, like, do you have big shows or festival style stuff coming up soon?
It's honestly been so much wrestling stuff, and then I'm moving, so it's been manic. But I know right now, like, I'm in talks with Knotfest about a couple things, so I'm excited to see what's on the horizon. But we're getting into those November, December dates where it's winding down for festivals. I feel like we're saying goodbye to our lovely summertime fest. So at least we're going out with a bang. Definitely.
But we're also saying hello to Halloween and Scorpio season. So
yeah, that's my man.
Take that trade. Take that trade.
Well, we already covered the festival section of our show, but you already know that we have to get into some tracks that we are absolutely loving. So, Dee, let's start with you. What are you spinning like crazy as of late?
All right. My dudes in High Command have a new record coming in November. There's one single out for now. I think that'll change soon. I've heard a bunch of the other stuff that kicks ass. The song's called Siege Warfare. High Commander, like, everyone's into cool crossover bands and hardcore bands playing thrash again, so check this one out. These guys do it really well. It's like a pretty notey and busy crossover riffs. It's got them Slayer harmonized melodies and dissonant whammy shit. Hail Satan. Tons of Toxic Holocaust vibes, both like vocally and structurally. The artwork's super cool. Lots of shit about swords and nerdy, kind of awesome fantasy shit and really cool dungeony shit. And yeah, band's super cool. Check them out. And this new record is a killer, a huge step in the right direction. It's their second full length, and they're, you know, there's no such thing as a sophomore slump. They're killing it.
All right, and then Ryan, how about you?
I've been rocking a song called "Sweet Evil Son" from the band Candlemass, who are one of my favorite bands of all time. You know, Doom being my favorite subgenre of metal, and them being one of my favorite Doom bands. With the vocalist who sang on Epicus Doomicus. Metallica's back in the band making new material is pretty amazing. I am a Messiah Marcolin fan and would love for Messiah to be there, but in lieu of him, this is sort of like it's a really interesting kind of what if the guy who only sang on the first album was back and making new music. So the stuff they've been cranking out the last couple of years is just as quality as everything they've ever done. So Sweet Evil Son, that's up on Spotify. And then also for my hip-hop heads out there, speaking of Halloween, every year around this time for the last few years, the guys in Twisted drop a Sam Hain mixtape.
Yes.
And it's you know, they played actually Blue Ridge and they crushed it, and it was one of their sets where they mix hip-hop with the rock songs, and there's a drummer and there's a live guitar player, but these Sam Hain mixtapes that they drop are just pure old school rap, and they put all their friends on there. So a bunch of the Magic Ninja dudes are on there, and everything's Halloween themed and horror movie themed, and those are all things I like. So I've been listening to that a lot too.
That's awesome. For me, it's kind of a shame to admit this, but I'm finally trying to get into bands that I hadn't kind of deep dove into previously. I grew up with metal, but then like doing things through Knotfest, I keep hearing about these bands over and over, and one of them happened to be Goat Whore. So I listened to their newest record.
I was hoping you'd say Slipknot, and one of them happened to be Slipknot. I just listened to them.
That'd be awesome.
Could you imagine? Awesome. Oh, that would just be brutal.
That'd be kind of awesome. It'd be a flex for sure.
I could only imagine pulling that over on everyone. But after listening to the record, I totally get why they're so beloved. It's thrashy, blackened metal at its finest. The blast beats are so chaotically intense, but I also love the different guitar techniques. I am such a sucker for picking, especially when it's crazy fast. It's incredibly dark the entire album, so definitely worth checking out ASAP. And then I always try to do a non-metal choice. For me, I've been getting back into the Stone Roses, heavily into like a Manchester scene. The song "I Want to Be Adored," one of the classics, is just so texturally and sonically layered with its just little like atmospheric twinkles throughout the whole thing. It sounds so ridiculous, but that's exactly what they are. The simple bass line drives the entire song, and then the vocals, they're just so ethereal. So I love it. There's a sense of wonder that always comes with it every single time. So those would be my two picks to get on for this week. A little eclectic.
The hacky lazy thing to say when Oasis comes up is to bring up the Beatles, but really no Stone Roses, no Oasis. Like that when we're talking like direct, of course they love Beatles and Stones, but when we're talking like direct influences, it's Stone Roses.
It's so similar with the ambiance of their tracks, vocal delivery,
and even just the style of frontman that Liam Gallagher is. Like you can put
the jackets, everything,
to each other, and the walk, the stance, and they don't shy away from it. So that's the other thing too. It's not like they're trying to be sneaky about who they love. So. Hell yeah. And shout out to Goat Whore.
Yeah, I was going to say.
One of those great bands that started as a side project and now has flipped all of the parent bands. Like
I get it.
Goat Whore pick. That record is so fucking good. They're one of my favorite bands. That record's great. I play Sammy's guitar live.
And I know it's almost cliche about some of these dark, evil bands. So occasionally the people are dark and evil, but Ben, the singer for Goat Whore and Soylent Green, is like just one of the sweetest, nicest, mild-mannered, thoughtful people. And then you watch him on stage with Goat Whore, and he looks like he's burning down the world. It's great.
Yeah, they're all really like genuine people, and you know, do they fucking love to have a good time? Absolutely, but they're also the people that like, you know, remember your name and treat you like family, even if they've only met you once. Like they're a real like Southern sense of Southern hospitality with them. Like that shit's really real with those NOLA boys.
It's amazing. Indeed. Now I'm definitely gonna hit you guys up for more recommendations because I haven't even dove into the older stuff. So I'm excited.
Joey Horse
I
got
don't
a
know,
whole
was it Stone
discography.
Roses?
Yeah,
Yes,
Stone Roses
we're all
has a whole
taking
discography too.
we're all taking a little bit of something from someone tonight, and I absolutely love that. But that's the perfect way to end today. So I just want to say thank you so much to both of you. Thank you to everyone watching another episode of Knotfest Heavy Conversations. On behalf of our sweet hosts, Ryan J. Downey and Daniel Dekay, I've been Alicia Atout, and we will see you next week right here. Bye, everyone.